And here they are, as mentioned, Diego on his Floowandereeze deck, adjusting it after time and time again, but the usual cards are there, such as Dark Ruler, no more, a free off in the main deck. So an interesting choice, but he's also playing the Necro Valley, which we have seen from other decks. Winning the role is obviously super important. Let's see this. He gets to reveal the top 3 card, and the Robina is already there, which is great stuff from the Italian.
We can basically see how Diego pretty much has his lineup adjust to the current format, his deck, with some changes, as you mentioned. The Necro Valley being popular this weekend. Also, he's still holding on the Harpy's Feather Duster in the main deck, which you've seen in the last events.
But as you can see on the screen, he's also playing Metaverse, which he hasn't done in the past at all. And I think it makes a lot of sense. If we look at Hakan deck, and for example, out to the Mystic Mine, he's playing only the 1 copy of Heartbeat in the main deck. So it's something to definitely pay attention to. But now we see the usual stuff from Diego. Great opening with the map plus Robina, and in terms of interruption, is Hakan actually playing the Heralds in the main deck? Let's check this out. He is. So 3 Heralds, unfortunately not really able to use them now, but maybe he will be able to later on. And here's some finessing from Diego. He gets the statue. Great stuff.
And I think it makes sense to be stick to the usual game plan from Diego, no? Like, you feel confident with a deck, Floowandereeze is still very good. And here, once again, showing up
strong. He actually goes for a different order than you would expect. Again, one of the reasons why Diego is so successful with the deck. He knows all the perfect interactions and how to play around cards. So what he's doing here is, in case an Herald comes down, he already has the statue on board. So if his opponent discards a Kelbeck or a Guido, then he cannot really get punished by Tearlament.
Yeah.
So it's really, really well played by the Italian once again. Just as I mentioned, the master of this deck. So someone needs to stop him. And I'm not sure that Hakan will be the one to do it here, considering this impressive opening by Diego.
Yeah, sets 1, set 2. And also activating his continuous spell. And now is...
Wow, 2 face down cards. He might have the Metaverse I was, telling you guys about. Of course, the one you should expect always is the Floowandereeze and Dreaming Town. But outside of that, we'll see if he has an answer from Hakan. This opening is really, really strong and not easy to interact with. So let's see what Hakan will try to do. He might even pick up his cards right away, from my understanding. But now, Hakan has seen enough.
Wow.
Quick game 1. The opening was too strong from the Italian. And Diego. Sometimes this is how it is. Diego again going first, winning the title. Big deal. And he gets absolutely rewarded for it. Part of Duality was essential there. He picked up Robina. He really needed an engine card, but with the map in hand, to be fair, any of the Floowandereeze were good enough. This was almost, if you blinked, we might still be in the introduction for the match. No, that's not the case. Diego is 1-0 already, only 1 game away from advancing to top 32. So huge start for this duel. Now, what do you think Hakan is gonna try and do to even the score going first?
I mean, playing against Floowandereeze has always been, I think, super difficult, especially because there's not a specific side deck against the deck.
I agree.
Looking at Hakan's side deck, I think like a very good one will be Forbidden Droplet.
For sure.
Because like apart from that, there are not like there are some cards going when time is almost up, not needed at the moment.
Yeah. Which also kind of surprised me, but makes sense that he picked up his cards. He doesn't really have a way to push the game forward. but potentially 9 out of his 15 cards are good against Floowandereeze. Them being Droplet, as you mentioned, Dark Lure No More, and Twin Twisters. So all of these could come in. Of course, going first, they are slightly weaker, but like going second, they are really good. So if we ever go to game 3, then maybe Diego could be in trouble. On the end, instead, of course, already mentioned, he has Dark Lure, Mystic Mine, and Shifter, which he tends to draw a little too much from what someone should usually do. But in the side deck, he has Evenly Matched and also something from the past, Dimensional Fissure, the 1 copy, which honestly I think it's a great addition, both going first and second.
Yeah, we have seen some players also playing Microcosmos, which back in the day was very popular as well, and I think it's a good interruption against Ishizu Tearlaments, also because Floowandereeze don't really need to play with the graveyard at all.
No, I agree, and it seems like that might pay off, but as mentioned already, these guys are fighting for a spot in the top 32. It is already time for game 2, so let's head back into the table. And here they are, Hakan going first, trying to set up his Tearlaments board with maybe Stapelia in Crime, so some tools that are better in this specific matchup, but let's see if there is a shifter from Diego. And Merli is activated, no shifter from Diego, and these mills are actually really strong from Hakan. 2 names and the Mudora, really good way to start things off in this game 2, really needed that.
Yeah, I think this is what you're really looking for, especially because like if Diego had the shifter here would have been a lot of problems. Hopefully for Hakan, no shifter was activated, and now
he gets to summon Kirkalos. Here you can get a lot of different cards up for the Crime, the Heartbeat, which he plays 1 copy of. And of course, it just changes the dynamic significantly when you're up against a deck such as Floowandereeze. And let's see what his opening will be, because it's not obvious, you know, when you play against such a unique deck.
And I think also, given the percentages of Ishizu Tearlaments in the top cut, you know that Floowandereeze could be around, and of course, it's, maybe you will be more happy to pay against a mirror match.
Absolutely.
Diego is here.
To be fair, as we will be able to show you guys in the deck breakdown, we see as well a Kelbeck, so this opening is really strong, and even the Scream
as well
to set up a card. This is an insane opening by Hakan. Absolutely great stuff by the French player. Let's see if he searches for Crime or Suliak here. Both devastating options, and it is the Crime. Makes sense, able to stop even the Evenly Matched or Dark Lure No More, Mystic Mine, a lot of different options. And let's see these 5 mills as well. What is it gonna be? RP Feather Duster coming down from Diego, nothing too relevant outside of that. Same for Hakan, which will have the option to shuffle back his own good cards, such as Perle Rhino and Twister, for example. That's also an option with these shufflers in matchups such as the Floowandereeze one. But what I was saying is, when we will show you guys the deck breakdown, you'll be able to see that the team for these top 64 is, as we predicted, join them or beat them. So either playing Ishizu tier or playing these decks such as the one we have seen from Federico, from Dinka, from Herman. A lot of these decks very different from each other. Madolce, Pendulum, Naturia, all in top cut, trying to R-counter tier. So it's definitely gonna be a long one, and I wanna say that you might have some chances.
Odds are with me this time.
Yeah, this time you're not in a bad spot, so let's see. But now, as predicted, we get to see why Diviner of the Herald is such a strong card in the deck. You can get it back with Elf, and then it guarantees a Baron as well as milling 5 more cards with the Agido. Great start by Hakan, nothing to say.
And also I think it would be relevant if Diego would mill any of his good cards.
Yeah, one of them is obviously the statue. That's a one-off. Let's see what he mills. Another map. The Dreaming Town is relevant, but it's actually potentially even good for Diego in the graveyard. The rest, nothing too relevant, really. While Hakan has the option to use the Rhino, as well as, of course, shuffle back a couple of Twin Twisters from his graveyard to the deck.
And I think we didn't see any Dark Looter no more being milled by Diego, which means he might be holding one.
Yep.
And also we saw an Evil Image being sent to the graveyard, which means maybe Diego is holding one another. We will soon find out. Still here, very good stuff from Hakan. There's a reason why Ishizu Tearlaments is the most represented one in the top cut.
I think it is one of the openings where we have seen the most cards getting sent to the graveyard. As you can see here, Kit Kalos was used to revive the Rhino. Then it milled 5 cards, and then the Rhino sent the Shireen, the last name, from the deck to the graveyard. Alongside potentially the Suliek resolving and giving Hakan a Avnis maybe. Let's see which one he picks up. It's another Rhino. So now he has Baron available to him alongside Astapelia, for example, which would be weak to the Crime. So maybe he wants to end up with instead, I would guess, maybe another fusion, because he needs a tier fusion for Crime. So usually what you would go for is the Kaleido art, because in this matchup, Kalos might not be the best, I would say, but let's see. Yep, seems like he's gonna resolve and go for the Kaleido as expected. And you can see he sided the droplets as well, of course, going first. And yeah, here is Kaleido Heart, nothing too surprising. Kaleido plus Baron, strong opening with the Crime on top. I really like the chances here from Hakan, but we have seen how unbothered Diego appears to be. He has fought back from even stronger openings than this. And without the Perle Rhino, actually, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Because when you end with the Shufflers, you turn the Perle Rhino into another interruption. And not having opened it, it's actually really bad for Hakan. Because that's an out to Mystic Mine as well.
We really have to see if Diego finds a way somehow to force the Baron and the Crime. It's not going to be easy, but we have seen very good stuff from him.
Yeah, something we shouldn't forget about is that Diego milled the 1 copy of Dreaming Town, which is super relevant because if he gets to actually tribute summon a monster, then he can use the graveyard effect to turn Kaleido and Baron to face down position. But now maybe it will be shuffled back by Hakan with this Mudora. Let's see if he even thinks about that option or just prioritizes his own card, which I think is debating, and he does.
Yeah.
So well played by Hakan, recognizing the threat from Dreaming Town. It's also a really bad top deck to give the Italian, so might as well do it. And I think this is a really nice recognition by the French player. So he will set his Crime and probably ends the turn with this board, which is really, really good if you ask me. And yeah, this is the opening. Does he have a second face down card? He is considering it, but maybe doesn't want to play into another evenly, and he passes back. Tough field to fight back. Let's see what Diego would be able to do.
It's not easy.
No, for sure you have 2 generic negations plus the Kaleido to deal with. So this is really not easy. Also, whenever the elf wants to activate on a Merli, you also get some mills. This duality, I think, will be ignored. We see an evenly matched picked up potentially, and it's right away chosen by the Italian. If he has another way to force out, you know, Baron or Crime, this could be good. Otherwise, this would be and could be an almost as fast game as game 1. And we might go to game 3 real soon. Let's see if the Italian can pull something up. He needs maybe Dark Ruler, and Prosperity is another nice way to continue. You always ignore this again.
Because I think what you're really looking for here maybe is another copy of Evenly Matched and a Dark Ruler. I mean, that's it's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot, but it's not impossible. Especially by Diego, who is usually throwing above average hands. But to be fair, it's not just about getting lucky, it's about really using the chances you're given. And I think Diego usually is able to just use those resources to his advantage. And here we see Dark Ruler, 3 Dark Rulers from the Prosperity alongside a mine. I think he picks up one right away, because basically the Dark Ruler forces out the Crime, because it's the only card you can answer it to, and then, yeah, it's gonna force the French player to consider his option carefully.
Yeah, I think this was really needed from Diego. He didn't have one, and...
So this could be enough from Diego. Let's see. Again, whenever he wants to activate this Dark Ruler, then Hakan has actually the chance to go for a Stapelia later on. And now actually it is Diego who instead gives the priority back to Hakan, who wants to just mill 5 and continue. I think an interesting decision. He could have waited a little bit more here, but maybe wants to get rid of some cards from your opponent. Let's see what he mills from the top. It's actually a pretty good mill, but it hits the Dreaming Town once again. Ooh. But if I'm not mistaken, the 2 copies of the Empen were milled.
Yeah, I think both of them.
Yeah. And now again, hitting even more. Nothing too relevant here from the Italian. Will there be... it's all the names from Hakan, who is overextending a little bit, though. You know there is an evenly matched and a Dark Ruler. If there is a way to force out this back row, you are in big trouble by overextending this much.
Yeah. Of course, the double Empen being sent to the graveyard, it's a thing.
Yeah, essentially, when you start things off like this, you can mill 20 cards, which is a ridiculous amount. Half of your deck already in the graveyard. And as we were saying, not many decks are able to continue playing with that many cards in the grave. But Hakan might not be interested in actually using his fusions. Let's see. Do you think he just forgo any of them? Wow. Ooh, so okay. Hakan doesn't go for the tears and instead is hit by this Dark Ruler and he allows it. Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Dark Ruler resolves surprisingly from the French player, who doesn't activate the Crime and pretty much will be forced to do it on the evenly. Really interesting decision here from Hakan.
Would you have activated on the Dark Ruler instead?
Yeah, I think so. And I am also really intrigued by the decision of using the elf there if you then don't want a fusion summon. I am honestly a little bit confused by that, not gonna lie. But let's see if Diego will now use his chance. An option he has is maybe to go for a 3 plus then the Toucan to get back the Empen this way around. So now, as we mentioned, Kikalos comes down. We might see Stapelia, for example. That could be an easy way out of this game. But again, really risky, I have to say. Like, if you negate the Dark Ruler, I guess you don't force out the Battle Phase right away, but you are not even forced to use the elf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, like he intentionally wanted to mill 10 if that was possible, but then he forgo any of his tier activations, which makes me really question this play from Hakan. And now he actually goes for an Abness. Wow. Yeah, this is definitely unusual lines from Hakan, who might want to play the long run instead of shutting his opponent out, but I think Diego is happy about the outcome of this.
Yeah. Yeah, because like seeing how things started, they were looking very bad for Diego.
And yeah, here we see the Mystic Mine coming down from the Italian. Wow. Yeah, so he will not be able to negate it anyhow. But yeah, evenly matched, Dark Ruler no more, and Mystic Mine. We said you should never take out Diego of the equation. He has what it takes with this deck to fight any kind of opening, and he just drew a really strong hand when he will be able to use this 3 as expected, and then the Toucan, which is the combo I was telling you guys about. So now he gains some life points, and with this 3 plus the Toucan, he's essentially able to shut everything from his opponent and set up the Empen. Yep. So he banishes the Empen, gets it back afterwards with the Toucan, and this is just some teaching masterclass for Floowandereeze from the Italian player. He's gonna check his graveyard to see if he has any effects, and as mentioned, now the Dreaming Town will activate, putting every single monster face down from Hakan. What a turnaround, well played by Diego, really, once again showing off why he is this good with the deck. And now Hakan has to find a solution. He even forgot to add a Arbit with the Kid Kalos, which I think made a lot of sense, and now he needs to pick up and out this Mystic Mine. That's extremely annoying for him.
Now Hakan really needs to find... okay, he had the airbit. Still, we have to give credit to Diego for the way he tried. He's trying his best to remain inside this game, which I think Hakan started incredibly well.
Absolutely,
with all these nails,
absolutely. Great stuff. And here, as you can see, Hakan just being reminded that his effects are shut off from the Empen.
And now Hakan is flipping his monsters up, trying to find his way to go into a game 3, but as you mentioned, never
easy. And are you actually surprised that he's playing 2 copies of Kid Kalos? We haven't seen that
usually,
all weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, usually now it's become more popular to play only one. Looks like he's more familiar and playing with 2 copies, which sometimes it can come up, although I have to say most of the times one is more than enough. Still, impressive field from Hakan.
Yeah, but once again, we just see how good of a player Diego is, but this time with the Heartbeat that's being the MVP, it's obviously gonna be an uphill battle. Let's see what he can do to stay in this game. Arbit being, I want to say, the most popular option as out Mystic Mine in the main deck for the tier deck. Makes sense, it's searchable, it's also recyclable with the Mudora and Keldo, so it's paying off a lot, and it's also not destroying the card. So we had seen some players using the Beat Cop combo, and as it doesn't destroy, it's also able to play around those. But yeah, now it seems like the Ampen will activate its effect that maybe Hakan forgot about. I don't necessarily know about that, but okay. Now we get to see some action resolving. Ampen, of course, known for the shutting down effect, but we had seen plenty of time Diego using the other effect, which is that if it battles an opponent monster, you can banish one card from your hand, and essentially it has halving the opponent attack. So
still not over yet.
And yeah, now the play will continue potentially in main phase 2. And it seems as once again Diego was trying his best to stay in this, but I think it might be a little too much for the Italian to fight back. But never underestimate Diego, really don't. And I think he can actually summon back one of the shifters if he wants. And I think Diego has seen enough. So we are going to game 3. What a match already, as we were saying, top 64. Both of these guys playing for a chance to advance to the top 32 and claim the YCS title later on today. But Diego, again, really showing why you should not underestimate the Floowandereeze deck. Was almost, you know, at a pinch from clutching an incredible 2-0, but at the very end, the one heartbeat, which wasn't searched by Hakan, was already in the end, and it shuts down the Mystic Mine, giving him the win. So now the score is even, 1-1, still plenty of time in the round, but it will be Diego going first. And what a side deck he has for going first. Just go through it.
I mean, he's playing, as you mentioned, the Dimensional Fisher, which is amazing, along with Arp's Featherstorm and 3 Solemn Judgment.
I mean, that's just a little too much, if you ask me. RP Featherstorm, an incredible card. We have seen a player like Emre deciding to side it alongside Trap Trick. Instead, Diego prioritized Solemn Judgment, and I think this will be a huge decision because, as we were seeing from Hakan, he has in his side the cards such as Dark Ruler and Droplet and Twisters, which are all really good cards, but they all involve in some ways discarding another card, the Droplet and Twister. So Solemn Judgment is at least a +1, and I think that would be the great decision. So I think if I had to guess, this will come down to two things: whether Diego will play an open playable, because we know sometimes this deck can be bricky. I've never seen Diego brick with it, I think, but it can definitely happen. And on the other hand, we shouldn't forget about a card we have yet not seen, which is Herald of the Orange Light.
Yeah, that makes the difference, honestly.
Because if he picks it up with a Kelbeck or an Agido, and he plays 5 copies in total, you can start milling during your opponent on turn. So maybe that can be enough. Without further ado, though, our players are basically ready. So let's find out who will be the winner of the top 64 in the game 3. And here they are for one of these players. This will be the last 5 cards they pick up for YCS Dortmund. Let's see who will take it. Honestly, could really go either way. I like both players' chances, and let's see first and foremost if Diego opens a playable and going first with his deck. A lot of consistency cards and a lot of pot cards and prosperity. The best way to guarantee a Floowandereeze Robina going first.
I think we might be scared. Diego didn't have a single shifter throughout all the
Yeah,
games,
honestly, not a single shifter. Diego, what's going on? And here he has both options, Robina or Necrovalle, of course, if he feels like it. But he picked up the duality. Wow. Picking up the duality means he already has a playable end and he wants to prioritize maybe the RP Feather Storm or Solemn Judgment. And he does eat the Solemn Judgment, so that's should be his pick. Maybe the map as well could be a really good one to play around Herald of the Orange Light. That is my main consideration, but let's see what Diego decides to do. He obviously knows this deck way better than us. Not even gonna lie.
This is tough, actually.
Yeah.
This is very tough. It's either one of the stage or the judgment, honestly. Because like if he doesn't want to, yeah.
That was my guess. He already has a playable end. He picks up the Solemn Judgment just in case his opponent has one of those pesky going second cards. But now there is no protection from the Herald. So if there is an Herald of the Orange Light from Hakan, this could be trouble. But there is the map. What a hand from Diego. Wow. Yeah, this is just a huge opening from the Italian. Nothing to say. Yeah, gonna just banish the Robina, and this guarantees that there is a way to play around the Herald, which still can be quite annoying, I'm not gonna lie, but at least a little bit less than this. And the Toucan is also a really nice way because now you cannot really herald the activation of either of the two. But there is an herald plus the Agido, so let's see. I don't really necessarily like the ordering here from Hakan, but let's see this 5 mils. He doesn't hit a single card with it. Oh no, there are no relevant mils from Hakan. But he might get an Avnis, which then gets him 3 more mills. I think that's the play here. Wow.
Yeah. Something you don't really see often. He didn't mill any Ishizu cards or Tearlaments cards.
Yeah.
Still the Herald with the Agido. The one you were mentioning earlier. We're there.
But to be fair, the statue is a huge deal. Diego sending the statue from the top of the deck is absolutely brutal. So if it's true that it wasn't the best meal for Hakan, it was definitely a really bad meal for Diego here. You can see him not happy with the situation. And now Hakan has to get an Avnis for sure. So at the end of the day, the Herald is still paying off significantly for the French player. And he does get the Avnis, so let's see if this Avnis will actually mill something relevant. At the moment, Diego will try his best to activate his Toucan, and Hakan, having a little bit of a thought here, will allow it to go through. And now we'll see, I would guess, of course, as you usually would, the Eglen to get the Empen, but the statue obviously was a big
the statue
deal.
hurts a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Because then he milled the Dreaming Town again, right?
I think so.
Also, the Dreaming Town is bad, really bad in the graveyard, you know? So really unfortunate. Basically all of the one-offs, even the continue. And this is why we get a very unusual play here by Diego, once again showing why he's this good with the deck, sending his 3. But let's see if there is a response here from his opponent. Where do you activate this Avnis? I think you might as well do it here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you should be activating it here. I think Hakan is considering it. Will make sense.
Yeah, I think Hakan has to... Oh, and he has another Herald! Wow! Another Herald! Wow! That's crazy. 2 Heralds might be the only way to stop Diego, but now the game state is extremely simplified and Solemn Judgment is huge. I think Diego is still in a really good spot, and if he Solemn Judgments the field spell right now, I wouldn't even hate it, if I'm being honest with you. So definitely interesting stuff from Hakan. Because Avnis felt like it could have been a safer pick, to be fair.
Yeah. And I think Diego is allowing.
Yeah, I think we might see the Solemn Judgment here, and it does. Solemn Judgment coming down from Diego to shut the Perlerino. Makes a lot of sense. And now if he has a normal summon, he has a second copy. Wow.
Wow.
And there is a handshake right away. What a brutal way to go. It took a lot of effort to take down Diego. Let's go to the post-match discussion. What a match, honestly, and what a brutal way for Diego to go. We were mentioning how good of a Floowandereeze player he is. He proved it throughout the entire match. But how can you really blame him? Lost to Chu Herald, so 4 fairies from the end, which is already almost impossible. And then double Perlerino against the Solemn. Wow.
That was literally, I think, brutal. I mean, Diego fought with all his energies. I think also in game 3 his end was good because like basically revealed out of Power of Prosperity and took the duality, which means he had a lot of things going on. The statue was, of course, like being sent to the graveyard, hurt a lot. But then I think Hakan with the double Herald and double Perlerino.
I mean, it's really not that kind of end where you can complain too much about what happened. There was obviously the decision to pick up the Solemn from Diego, which I cannot really blame because when you open with both map and the Floowandereeze engine, you play around 1 inch up easily. And he played around 1 of the Herald as if it didn't happen. He was also really unlucky with the mills, which we gotta admit, because he was forced to go for a 3 since he milled both, and not just both, but 3 important cards, which were the statue and then both the Continue and the Dreaming Town. So that was, of course, really unfortunate for Diego. But we gotta give credits where credit is due, and Hakan just performed really well. In game 1, he understood the situation and scooped up right away. Didn't even play a single card. And in game 2, he just proved that even though his opponent went for Dark Ruler, evenly matched, and Mystic Mine, which is, I mean, a combo that I think every single tier loses to, by just setting up a good enough field with Crime and searching the Heartbeat, or rather having it, otherwise he would have gone for it. He was guaranteed protection against it. He had the out to the Mystic Mine, and he was able to win game 2. And in game 3, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for Diego, but honestly, I mean, I think he did well. Also at this event, like topping 4 events in a row. I mean, very good stuff from him.
It's a lot of stuff. You already won 1 event this year, which was the Italian National Championship. So you gotta give some titles to the other players, I guess. But congratulations to Hakan. But without leaving you guys, we are now able to show you the top 64 for this event. So let's bring it up on the screen. And this is the list of names. The first half already. What a list of accomplished players. We can already see Esala, Chris LeBlanc and Jesse Cotton all over from USA and Canada representing well. But again, Samir Bakar, European champion, Enrico's back, Joshua Smith. The list is just incredible. Zio Mandri, Federico Mecozzi, Dinkan Fan. It's like how many of these players have already won an event. Even Dinka Bui with his Naturia deck made it to the top 64. Vladis, another of course great player. And on the other side, let's continue to the other half of the top cut for you. Again, so many good names. Diego, which we just saw. Gabriel Susi, again, another really good player and European champion. And you have Emre, which we saw on stream, Simon, a lot of these guys, Pial, which we witnessed on stream on the bubble match, and again, even Andrea. So many good players on this list. So it's not much better than you can ask for a top 64 at this level. And if I'm curious about something, is a couple of things I gotta say. One, when we will show you the deck breakdown, if Alberto is powerful enough to defeat Ishizu Tears with this curse, and if one of these crazy Naturia, Madolce or Pendulum deck might be able to make it at least to the finals, I'm rooting for them for sure. But this was a pleasure to be with you for the top 64. We will be back soon with the top 32, but before we do that, let's hear it from Ed and the winner of top 64, Hakan.
Thank you, Marcello. Yes, I am here with Hakan, who's just won our top 64 feature match, now straight into the top 32. Congratulations. Are you feeling pretty good now that you've already made it into the next level of Top Cut?
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. So let's talk a little bit about the plays that went on. Game 1, Diego played that barrier statue of the Stormwind, and you just decided to scoop. What made you go straight into scooping from there?
Maybe he doesn't know my deck, so I didn't want to give the information. And also, I had nothing to do with his field.
Okay, so it was just keeping the cards close to the chest and then getting straight into that game 2, which then game 2, you built a very reasonable field. You had Baron, Elf, you set the crime as well. There was the pot prosperity from Diego where he showed Mystic Mine and 3 Dark Ruler no more. So that was quite revealing for you. What was going through your mind when you saw those cards?
I didn't know if he has 2 evenly or 1, so that's why I did Diviner to mill. Then I saw the second evenly on the graveyard. I knew he had only 1, and then I kept heartbeats to in case of Mystic Mine.
And then that was exactly what you did, because then there was the heartbeat to get rid of Mystic Mine, and then that led to a scoop. You got that next game, so then it was 1 apiece. We got into game 3. You had a bit of a difficult mill hitting no tier cards. So when that happens, what's going through your mind? How do you deal with that in a game?
I'm still confident because I have the second Herald. He doesn't know. It doesn't happen often. But I know he already did his extra normal. So if I Herald there, he cannot go furthermore. And I did top the field spell and terraforming, so I knew he was gonna Solemn. I was lucky on the top, and second field was a good game.
That was great, watching that moment. The crowd, I don't know how much you guys can hear with the headphones on. The crowd was going nuts with the Solemn straight into the second field spell, and that was just, the handshake came out, you had it. Congratulations, that was a really, really exciting game to watch. Best of luck in the top 32, your first feature match getting in there. So we'll be seeing what happens in that top 32 cut, but don't go anywhere because we're gonna have more content for you before we come in to our top 32 feature match. Don't go anywhere, YCS Dortmund coverage still going.